Um, yeah, I remember this movie being way better than it actually is. None was released in 2018, directed by Corin Hardy, starring Demian Bashir and Taissa Farmiga. And this is actually the first time I've seen this movie since it was in theaters back in 2018. I bought it on Blu-ray way back when it first came out, and I just never got around to rewatching it for whatever reason. So yeah, this is the first time I've rewatched it since it was in theaters, and yeah, I remember this movie being way better than it actually was. So let's go ahead and start this review off, starting off with the good. And there's still a few things I enjoy about this movie. First, you have Taissa Farmiga in this movie, and she does a really great job. She's the main character, and just like her sister Vera Farmiga, she's a very talented actress. I believe this was the first big starring role she had. I could be wrong. But she did a really great job in the role, and I really want to see her in more stuff because of how good she was in this movie. And then you have Demian Bashir, and he was really good as well. This is probably my favorite type priest type character with a dark past, I guess. Out of this entire franchise, he does a really great job. Demian Bashir is a very underrated actor, and my first exposure to him as an actor was in The Hateful Eight. So when I saw that he was in this movie, I'm like, I liked him in The Hateful Eight. So yeah, I bought into him in this movie because I liked The Hateful Eight. But yeah, I really liked Demian Bashir in this movie. I thought he did a really great job. And then you have the actual character of the nun, and I'm gonna get into a little bit more specifics of how the character was used later on. But I did really like Bonnie Aarons' physical performance as the nun. She did a really great job. She was very creepy, very unsettling, and I feel like she did a really great job with the screen time that she was given. So I really liked the character of the nun in this movie. And out of the entire franchise, I'd honestly say this movie probably has the creepiest atmosphere. I really love the atmosphere in this movie. Um, Aside from the first two Conjuring movies, obviously this is the best atmosphere in the entire franchise. The set design of this old monastery that they're staying in, very well done. Really adds to the atmosphere. And there's a few good scares in here. A few. They were good. They were passable. They were watchable. And the score really elevates the atmosphere as well. I just really love the score. It's a little. Some of it was reused from The Conjuring 2, but it's a spinoff of a character from The Conjuring 2, so obviously it's gonna be reused a little bit. But yeah, I really love the score here. That's about all for the good. On to the bad, and there's quite a bit I'm not a fan of here. First of all, this movie's called The Nun, and the nun is in it for maybe a collective of 8 minutes. Yeah, I don't like that. I really like the nun as a character. I think that the nun is the most interesting antagonist in the Conjuring franchise. So only giving the character 8 minutes collective in its own solo film, yeah, that doesn't sit well with me. And I mentioned that some of the scares were good because some of them were actually built up to very well. Um, the rest of the scares in this movie just didn't feel earned, and they were kind of cheap. There were a lot of cheap scares in this movie. Yeah, I gotta take away from that. A lot of the scares were just cheap or not good. So yeah, I didn't really like that. And in in terms of tension in this movie, because with a horror movie you gotta build some tension, and the tension is there, but in some scenes it just drags out for way too long or it's way too short. So the tension just it doesn't feel very tense in a lot of scenes. There was one particular scene where I actually felt the tension worked very well, and that was about it. The rest of the scenes that involved tension just weren't that great. The reveal of what was going on was kind of lazy, honestly. And the third act just delved way too deep into the stupidity of the plot here. I mean, they defeat the nun by spitting the blood of Christ in its face. What the hell was that? I mean, yeah. That's all for the bad. On to the final thoughts. The Nun is not a great movie. I probably should have never rewatched this and just made myself think it was good, but I rewatched it because of this franchise. So, yeah, The Nun is better than Annabelle, but easily one of the weakest in this franchise, and I'm only going to give it a 5 out of 10. So that was my thoughts on The Nun. Have you seen this movie yet? Let me know down in the comments what you thought about it if you have seen it. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.